Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Um, so this isn't really part of the Halloween series, but I did just see Venom: The Last Dance this morning, and I thought I'd give my thoughts on it. There are going to be spoilers, especially for the end. So if you haven't seen it or like you have a desire to see the movie, go ahead and watch that first. Um, but anyway, the movie was okay. I mean, the first thing I can think of is unfortunately it kind of it retcons the what happened at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, if you guys remember that post-credit scene where Eddie's in that bar getting drunk, and he's talking with that bartender about like the Avengers and Thanos and everyone. Well, they put in a very shortened version of that, where all he talks about is that purple alien who's looking for stones. And then instead of him like glowing golden or whatever and being sent back to his universe, like what happened with Doctor Strange's spell, instead he's pulled through this like yellow portal that's the same portal that was seen in the trailers with Null sending his monsters that are called the xenophages to Earth. Um, he gets sent through one of those portals back to their universe, and he ends up in his universe's version of that bar with the same dude, with the same bartender. And I mean, I just thought this right now. Like, if that portal can send Venom through different universes, then why? I'm assuming that it's one of Null's portals. Then why does Null need to send his xenophages to scour the universe to find Venom and the Codex, which I'll get to you in a minute? If his portal can take Venom from the Marvel Cinematic Universe back to his own like Sony Spider-Man universe, whatever they call it, then why does he need the xenophages? Why can't he just portal Venom back to Clintar, the prison that Noah's in? Um, so that was the first issue that I had. That I actually just thought that up right now, but I mean, the story is okay. It's more or less like a road trip adventure for Venom and Eddie. Uh, Eddie and Venom are still played uh, pretty good by Tom Hardy. I really got no complaints there. Rounding out the cast this time is I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not gonna even say. But it's the guy who plays as Baron Mordo in the Doctor Strange films. He's in this film as a guy named General Rex Strickland. Um, funny, back when his casting was first announced, I could have sworn that I saw some theories saying like, oh, he's gonna be Mordo in this film and it's gonna connect to the MCU. Well, turns out no. um, there's this lead doctor scientist named Teddy Payne, who's played by Juno Temple. I know she's been in a lot of other movies and TV shows, but what I remember her from is The Offer, where she plays as Alan S. Ruddy's assistant, I think, and she was pretty good there. She's all right here. She gets sort of a little character arc that she goes through about how her brother died by getting struck by lightning, and because she was holding hands with him, like her arm is paralyzed. So that's interesting character development for her. Rissa Fons is also in this film as this hippie, and his wife is played by Alana Ubach. I think that's how you say her name. Who I remember her from the movie Ted as playing the mother in that show. Uh, again, with the different castings, I think I saw somewhere that I think I saw like this one fan theory that Riz Ifans was going to be returning as a version of the Lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man films. I don't know. I just think it's funny that there were all these different casting theories about a year ago, and like they couldn't be any more wrong. Mrs. Chen, played by Peggy Liu, comes back in this film in a very minor role, basically a cameo. Which I'll get into that in a minute. And then Andy Serkis plays Null, the King in Black from the comics. And honestly, for the small bits that he was in this film, he didn't get a lot to do, but I thought that he played the character like very menacing. He actually felt like he could be like a universal cosmic threat. Like I'll get into this more when I talk about the ending of the movie, but I think that he could be like an Avengers level threat, as Mysterio says in No Way Home, Far From Home. But the plot is more or less pretty simple. Like after the end of Let There Be Carnage, Eddie and Venom are on the run, and they find out that that Detective Mulligan was declared deceased after the end of that film, and Eddie and Venom are being blamed for it. Who, speaking of, Stephen Graham does return in this film. He also has a very minor role, which is kind of a shame because in the comics he plays the symbiote Toxin, which I have not read a lot of Venom comics, so I don't really know what Toxin's whole gimmick is in the comics. Which I'll get into those again towards the end of this video, but it's kind of a shame that that Stephen Graham had such a really big role in Let There Be Carnage, and then like he's relegated almost to a cameo role as well in this film. But so Eddie and Venom are on the run, and Eddie decides, like, well, hey, I know this judge in New York who we can blackmail him, and he can clear our name. So they start a very long trek all the way from Mexico to New York. They try to hitch a plane ride, but one of the xenophages finds him because, as it's revealed, when Venom is in his like big hulking body form, the xenophage can track the codex that's at the back of his spine. And Venom explains that the reason why they have a codex to begin with, why they're the only symbiote with a codex, is because way back in the first Venom film, when Riot stabbed Eddie through the heart, he actually killed him, and Venom brought him back to life. And when that happened, a codex was formed. So, unfortunately, that brings up another problem for me that I just thought of. Like, if the codex was... if the codex, like, formed when Eddie died and Venom brought him back to life, then why did it take 3 movies for Null to send xenophages? And to be fair, maybe there was like a time skip or something where the xenophages got sent out like at the end of the first film when Null first sensed the codex, right? But then why did it take so long for a xenophage to find him? Because there's a few moments in the movie where it shows like the xenophage's vision, where I feel like it kind of takes notes from the Predator films, where like the Predator has that like thermal vision, The xenophage isn't exactly like that, but it sees everything in black and white, except for when Venom is uh, in his true form, as they say. Uh, then it shows this red codex thing in his back, and like it basically sends out a signal. And if that's true, and the xenophage can log onto that, then how come it took so long for the xenophage to like find him? Like it went all through the ending of Venom, throughout Let There Be Carnage, all the way until presumably Spider-Man No Way Home. Although we don't actually see Eddie become Venom in that at the end of that film because it's a post-credit scene. Um, but why did it take Nolan the Xenophages that long to find him? So anyway, Venom and Eddie hitch a ride on a plane. The Xenophage finds them. And also, if Venom knew about this whole Codex thing, then why didn't he warn Eddie about this like way before this? Like if he knew that like they had a Codex and that the Codex could be the key to unlock Null's prison, then why didn't he warn him before this film? I mean, obviously like in real life reasons. They probably didn't, and they probably weren't planning that far ahead to have Null be like the overarching antagonist and having Andy Serkis play him and everything. But in universe, if Venom knew that they had a codex because he revived Eddie, and he knew that the codex would be the key to freeing his creator Null, then why didn't he say anything? Uh, it's kind of like with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania about how Michelle Pfeiffer's character Janet Van Dyne never mentioned Kang the Conqueror to anyone, even though she had been with the Pyms. She had been with her family again for a while. Anyway, moving on from that, though, the Xenophage finds them. The Xenophage finds them. Venom fights it. They escape it narrowly. Venom tells Eddie about Null, the Clintar cage, everything. They hitch a ride with Rizafon's hippie family. And they go to Vegas, which I honestly think this scene was pointless. It reminded me of the Canto Bight scene from Star Wars: The Last Jedi, where there was no point to this entire segment. It was just, I feel like it was just used for the marketing material. Mrs. Chen shows up just out of nowhere, and she and Venom dance. And I gotta say, Venom dancing is when like it really showed as CGI, like just Venom's like fast motions in the dancing sequence just seemed so disjointed after seeing Venom run around and fighting other symbiotes. That was the one scene to me that to me actually looked fake. So because Venom was in his true form and dancing with Mrs. Chen, which Eddie warned him about, the Xenophage finds him, and they go to Area 51 because aliens. Rizafon's family also gets there because they're hippies and they want to see aliens. The general guy, who's played by Mortal's actor, he actually kills Eddie, I think, but then Venom revives him again. The Xenophage finds him, and that's when Stephen Graham's character Mulligan, his symbiote takes over, fights the Xenophage, allows them to escape. Meanwhile, the scientists start to escape, until Venom orders them to like release all the symbiotes that are kept captive, and the symbiotes start bonding with other scientists and soldiers, and it basically the last I think 20-ish minutes are basically the symbiotes and the army working together to stop the xenophages, because uh Null realizes where Venom is, he sends another xenophage, which they destroy, I think, two of them, and then he sends more and more of them. And I will admit, so the one good thing about this entire sequence is that it was kind of cool to see the symbiotes and the humans like working together to stop the xenophage threat. Because it kind of to me, it kind of harkened back to Let There Be Carnage, when Venom is like in that nightclub or something like that, or like rave or whatever, and he's talking about how uh him and other aliens like should be like walking free and interacting with the human world, and that humans shouldn't be scared of them, right? So that I thought that was a nice touch. Unfortunately, the way they got there was by having all of these symbiotes from the comics show up and uh, fight the xenophages, and the xenophages just kill them all. And again, I haven't read the Venom comics, but I'm pretty sure a lot of fans of Venom aren't going to be too thrilled that like fan favorite symbiote characters show up for like 5 minutes and then just die like that. Unless if they come back for any kind of sequel, that's gonna be a huge missed opportunity. But anyway, so almost all the symbiotes die. Venom sacrifices himself and works with Strickland to basically douse him and all of the xenophages with acid, which kills all of them. Meanwhile, he saves Eddie from dying. And Eddie gets essentially pardoned by this general, where his entire criminal record is expunged. He can go live his life, and the last shot is him like in New York City, just reminiscing of the fun times he had with Venom, showing a bunch of footage from the from all three movies, and then it just ends. There are two post-credit scenes. The more interesting one is Null exclaiming that since Venom is dead, now there's nothing that can stop him. So, which does make me wonder, well, if there's nothing that can stop Null now, then why did he need the Codex in the first place? Unless if that was just a ploy, and that the Codex did the opposite of what they were thinking. I don't know. But point is, I would like to see Null in another film. He did look menacing in the film. Like, there's this one shot where he's standing at his full height, and like he extends his like all black necro sword, and like he actually does look like a cosmic threat. It looks pretty cool. And then like another post credit scene just has the bartender from No Way Home escaping Area 51. Meanwhile, it shows this one cockroach who is all black, presumably possessed by that tiny Venom little puddle thing that was left in the bar, and which obviously implies that eventually Venom will find his way back to Eddie, and they will bond again. So that was Venom The Last Dance. There were a few moments that I liked, such as like when when Eddie is in that hippie van with Rizafon's family, and they start singing that weird song. It did actually feel a little bit heartwarming. I will admit that. There was this cool scene at the very beginning when Venom fights this cartel, and instead of just Venom, it's actually both Venom and Eddie like fighting them, and it was kind of cool to see them like actually like working together like as partners instead of just Venom immediately just going to his true form and killing them all himself. That was kind of cool. And of course, the ending fight scene where all the humans and the symbiotes are working together to fight the xenophages. Uh, Again, it was just a shame that they pulled basically all of the more known symbiotes from the comics in for just like a 5 or 10 minute cameo sequence. But whatever. Now that I think of it, it was kind of like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where the Illuminati has all those cameos of like Professor X, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, and Maria Rambeau's Captain Marvel, and they all get wasted. But anyway, moving forward from this, like I would like to see Null become like the villain in like another film, whether that leads Venom to like the MCU for a fourth Spider-Man film, like some people were theorizing. That would be cool to see. I mean, even if they do another retcon where the Necro Sword from Gore was originally a symbiote from Null, because that's what happened in the comics, thereby linking Null to Thor. That would be cool to see, where he becomes the villain of an Avengers movie. Or if somehow Sony goes forward with a Sinister Six film, which would be interesting. It would be kind of weird to see, because like so far, I'm assuming that Craven would be in that lineup, except that the villain of that movie that's coming out in December is going to be the Rhino. So unless if they somehow make peace or whatever, then I don't really see like who all is going to fill out the Sinister Six roster, as it will be called, because if Null becomes the villain of that film, it's going to be a very weird choice. At the very least, like make it a character that's sort of like an anti-hero in the Spider-Man universe, like say, I don't know, like the Spider Slayer, because I'm pretty at the very least in the first Amazing Spider-Man video game, the Spider Slayer character and his robots were kind of like a villain for both Spider-Man and the Lizard, where they were kind of trying to capture like Spider-Man, Lizard, and all these other monsters. So I guess that could work, but I don't know. I don't know how the lineup is gonna go for that Sinister Six roster in the films, because right now we have Venom and Morbius, and technically the Vulture, if they don't decanonize Michael Keaton's cameo scenes in that film. Then we got the Craven movie coming out, which is gonna have not only him but also Rhino as the bad guy. Craven's brother, the Chameleon, is gonna be in it. And I did hear rumors that another obscure villain called the Foreigner might also be in the film. So I don't know. I haven't read a lot of Sinister Six comics. I haven't seen them a lot in the movies and TV shows. It would have been cool if No Way Home was like a multiversal Sinister Six, but whatever. But either way, assuming that all of those characters are going to be in the lineup, I think that's going to be the strangest Sinister Six roster that was made. And even if Null isn't the villain, then who's going to fight them? Because right now the only character who's even sort of a hero is Madam Web, and nobody went to see that. Or one of the Spider Women that are in it, which they don't even become the three characters that Madam Web protected. They don't even become Spider Women by the end of the film. It's still like in the future. So I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but point is, there were some parts of Venom The Last Dance that I liked, some parts that I didn't. If I can summarize it, I felt like it was lacking in some areas, and there were some disappointing moments. But anyway, that's it for this review, and I'll be back for another Halloween movie review later tonight. Bye, everyone.